Hello, and welcome to Soul Play. On today's episode, I am thrilled to welcome a woman who inspires me with her fire and passion. Our guest today is Natalie Abraham. Natalie is a certified somatic trauma therapist, an intimacy coach and heart initiator, an artist, healer, and poet. She guides transformative journeys through multiple sensual and sexual arts. Her key emphasis lies in vulnerability, empowerment, and conscious intimacy. She is also host and founder of her live radio talk show, Let's Talk About, conversing with international experts on subjects of relationships, sex, and taboo. Natalie comes from a background of Latin sensual couple dance and studied at the International School of Temple Arts, which led her on a deep journey into self-exposure, deep self-love, and sexual healing. Her biggest desire is to share the gifts that radically changed her life to others, bringing together true intimacy, sensuality, vulnerability, playfulness, depth, authentic connection, and ultimately to the art of love and of loving. In this thought-provoking discussion, we dive into the essence of self-love and the power of questioning inherited stories. Natalie highlights the need to slow down, embrace mindfulness, and explore our senses to build a deeper connection with ourselves and the world. The conversation also touches on how the COVID-19 pandemic reshaped our lives and communities, underlying the transformative potential of self-reflection and self-empowerment. This engaging dialogue invites you to reevaluate your beliefs and embrace the journey towards self-love. Without further ado, I welcome Natalie Abraham. Natalie, welcome to the show. It's so good to see you. I brought you here today to just explore what you're up to, what has been calling you, what have been your passions and desires, and where are you putting your time recently?
I mean, I would love to know how it is for you. Like, why?
Yes, why I'm asking you to come on. Yeah, so I think for me, basically, you were the first significant person in my life that I felt safe and created a space to explore sexuality and sensuality. And given my history of being raised Catholic and being gay in a very homogenous environment where those things just weren't welcome or even visible, right? So I think I woke up with, when I came out of that environment and started creating my own environment, I could see that there was, I would say, sexual shame, sexual trauma, imprinted in me that I didn't explore all that much, that I would say I didn't even acknowledge, to be honest. And you were the space holder for that. And it was, a flood of emotions. And so you are that to me, but you are also so much more. I mean, you also, the way that you exist and show up in your authenticity and are brave to explore the things that bring you peace and bring you joy and bring you love and aliveness, as well as I've been looking on your Instagram lately and just seeing you've been taking up coaching and helping people with sacred sexuality and helping people. I don't know the depths of that, and I would like to get into that.
It's so touching. And this would be the answer on why I do what I do. Is just for even just one story like yours makes even a small significant change in one person's life. It's everything for me. And there's many of those stories that are coming to me recently, and that gives me my charge and my motivation. And a lot of the time it's just me existing. I share with the world the exploration of myself and the healing of my journey. And this has become something that does help other people feel like they can explore themselves too, And there's so much beauty there. And people don't understand how something so sexualized can also be so hurtful at the same time. It's no, you need to be this or this. You're either the whore or you're the saint. Can you be both? Is there a sacredity that links both of them? Is sexuality just in the world of making it so shallow and dirty and shameful. Is there a higher place in sexuality? Can it be loving too? Can I be this and that? So that has been my inner journey with myself, and deciding to share that with everyone so they can see. And it was a lot for me to share that, especially with all the comments that were coming in. Wow, so many comments. People very inspired and people deeply triggered, new people in my life, old people in my life, family, friends. Suddenly everyone had an opinion of my lifestyle. And the translation, like, oh, she must be going through a very difficult divorce, I got that a lot. Or she, like all of these, people trying to put me in labels. Oh, she's this. No, she's this now. No, she's this now. She's, but actually, I think that up till now, for people that have been following me for the last few years, come to an understanding that I cannot be categorized or labeled, because I don't fit in any of those boxes. And that's scary for many people. Like, I need to know, are you gay? Are you lesbian? Are you this? Are you that? Are you, are you a whore? Are you a mother? All of these words or these taglines. If she's a teacher, then now I can put her in the box of a teacher. Or if she's a mother, and then it makes people feel safe because they can understand what is my box. But I don't have a box. I don't have a box. I'm everything. Like, you fill in these forms of what are you? Like, you always need to choose. Are you this? Are you that? People want to know exactly what you are so they can feel safe next to you. But it's so far from my ideology. And my aim is to break all of the boxes for me and for everyone. For all of the boxes. I'm not just this. And when I say I am just this, I block a world of opportunities and of experiences. And that's what I want people to experience. The 50 shades of being human. Yeah? Human.
Only 50.
I mean, 50,000.
You're in good company here. I don't want no boxes either, babe. Yeah.
It's true.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like we can be so much, and this is where the juice of life is. This is where we begin to really live so many blissful moments in life, is when you realize you are everything and nothing at the same time. Yeah, a little introduction.
Yes.
What happens when I cry?
Ooh, I love it. Keep it flowing. Yeah, if you could write it, you wouldn't want to live it. Am I right?
Yeah.
Like, what can actually come into being, our primitive minds can never actually know. Had you asked yourself 5 years ago, 10 years ago, perhaps even 2 years ago, where you would be in this moment, right?
Yeah.
Like, the potential for expansion and growth and development in this life is immense.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I wanted to bring this podcast to life is to showcase beautiful people that are about breaking cycles and are about dismantling these boxes, these stories, these ideals, these norms that are stricken in humanity over the course of time. It's just because it happened yesterday and the many yesterdays before that it's repeating, right? But if we remain unconscious to it, then it'll continue repeating. So it sounds like you, have been met with, people's interpretations of your journey, which is really difficult, I imagine, emotionally. Like, what was that like for you? What was that process?
Actually, it wasn't difficult at all. Yeah.
Even at the beginning.
And I love that, because I think it's also very deeply linked to my history, which comes from, I come from a family that's very conservative, very religious even. And I guess my relationship with them, or my journey with myself in seeking acceptance and seeking approval and seeking to feel a part of, wow, I went through so much in that journey, so many phases of rebelling against it, and then not needing it and not wanting it, and like so many levels of emotions and this took me 37 years, but eventually I found myself in a place that I found peace there and acceptance within myself when nothing around me had to change. And maybe they changed automatically the minute that I found peace there, because it was my journey with myself. And I couldn't understand until that point that how can I find peace with an external force of unacceptance? But through the work that I did find peace. And so when I came out to the world, like it's really coming out, that's how it was, the feeling in what I do, or at the time it was what my hobbies were. I wasn't doing it professionally even at the time. So it was just, this is how I live my life, you know? And receiving those comments, it was beautiful for me because I felt in my heart that the same thing, the same emotion would become alive in me, whether someone was deeply triggered by me or deeply inspired by me. It would be the same, because I don't have this connotation now of good and bad. You know, like my intention was to poke people, you know, to poke and to move them out of what they think is real, what they think is normal, what they think is right or conventional or whatever. If that meets them in an inspiring place, amazing. If that meets them in a triggered place, amazing. It's the same. Like, you know, when you are planting a seed in someone's being, you know, that seed could erupt and flower immediately, or it can take time. And I know that it's still sitting there inside, and maybe in 5 years suddenly something will come out and be like, I remember, you know, the people's journeys are endless, and I don't necessarily reveal my life in order to receive praise. Because I want to move you. I want to move what you think is truth. Yeah, and see how that meets you. So again, if someone is feeling inspired or triggered, it's the same. Did I move you? Yes. Good. That's it.
I like it. I like it.
That's it.
Yes, yes. And it's what the world needs, you know, a shake-up, a reevaluation.
And like, is this your truth? It's just a question. Is this your truth?
Yeah.
If people die believing truths that they, just because they weren't...
Blind followings.
Yeah, blind followings, you know, and this is the only intention. It's like, maybe it is your truth. Maybe you really believe in what you believe in. Amazing. But just...
evaluate it.
Yeah, just ask yourself, do you really believe this?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I appreciate your shaking up. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shaking. A lot of shakes.
Yeah. And how did this begin for you? Because I know we met here in Thailand. Is this something that awakened here? Was it previous, would you say?
I guess the journey into myself began in Israel, in Spain, in Israel. Yeah, like to try and find the moment of change has several different time zones in my life. But if I take it to the most significant moment that really slapped me in my face was, you know, I am a mother, but then I was a mother to a young baby. I don't know, my daughter, she was 3 or something. And I was very unhappy. But I also thought I was a very good liar. And so every time I was around my daughter and I would put on this happy face, and I've been working with children all my life, and I knew that children know everything, but still I thought that I was such a good liar that I could bypass this fact, but I couldn't. And it took me some years to suddenly notice in her physical symptoms of distress. And I went to check her out for her health, and we were checking, you know, the food and this and that. And, you know, it came down to that she was having an emotional expression of something. And I knew immediately that it was me.
It's very brave of you to acknowledge. Right?
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard. But then I was like, shit, it's probably something linked with me in my marriage and my husband. And, you know, and then I tried to kind of fix this a little more, but I realized her symptoms weren't changing. And I realized that it wasn't even about us. It was about me. And that she was directly connected with my happiness, not ours. Like in the beginning, I thought it was ours as a family unit. Maybe that is. But actually it wasn't. It was me, Natalie, her mother. And when I understood that, I got this deep slap in my face. And I was like, if you want to be a wonderful mother, which I did, your first priority is yourself. And when I understood that, everything changed for me. Like what I thought was a good mother completely broke down. I was like, wow, I need to find my happiness. And it was very opposite to how many mothers all of a sudden saw me going out and finding dancing. And they were like, what is, she's never at home. She's never, all of this judgment. But actually what was going on in the background is the best teaching that I could be for my daughter is to be the teaching, is to be independent, is to be happy, is to be powerful. And so that's the journey that I went on. And it took time, but I found that. And now I feel like one of the greatest mothers, really. And it's very, my lifestyle is very opposite from many mothers who give their whole lives for their kids. They sacrifice all their dreams for their kids. And for me, it was opposite. And, I'm not saying one is right, one is wrong. Just for me, this was my way of being the best mother I could be. And I still stand by that today. And I feel so proud of myself. And I see my relationship with her and how she relates to me and how she relates to herself through seeing me. And that inspires me. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Emotional topic and a beautiful, important one, because again, like that's a long-standing story of how a mother should present in the world. It's an example of many pointing the finger towards women, right? This is how you should show up. This is the way being a mother is. This is how you should be pregnant. This is how you should deliver. You need to breastfeed, etc. It's just always pointing the finger towards women.
Yeah.
Right. And no autonomy, no voice for them to identify. And I mean, it makes complete sense. How can you show up as anything, especially a mother, if you can't show up for yourself, right?
Right.
Yeah, right. Like an essence of a ghost.
And a wife and a girlfriend and a friend. And actually you can duplicate this wisdom or this teaching in any relationship. How can you expect anything from anyone when you don't have it for yourself? Yeah, how can you tell your kids to be independent and powerful when you are not independent and powerful? How can you ask your lover or your husband to love you and be there for you when you cannot be there for yourself? So it's like just always these mirrors that we point outside. You need to fill my hole. You need to fill my lack. When you can just turn that around and begin here, begin here. And that changed my life. My relations with everyone, not just my daughter, with everyone.
Wow. And it made you, it sounds like, slap in the face, wake up, okay. Let's turn those mirrors inward.
And time after time, day after day, because we forget all the time. Like suddenly we find an expectation from our friends who didn't and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You're like, okay, another slap.
Reminded.
Okay. Do you have this with yourself? I forgot. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a self-responsibility. It's really a life path. It's not an understanding and that's it. It's a chosen path. When you're choosing to love yourself first, that's a choice you make every day. Every day. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm with you, sister, for sure. And it's a path that it's okay to stumble and fall. You know what I mean? It's part of the recipe, I think,
sure.
Right? We plant seeds, we water them. A week later, we forget about them, and it's okay. It's just continuing to show up. And I think a common theme that we've been talking about is community through this, like showing up for ourselves, but also finding other people who are doing the work, to feel inspired and to continue and to be able to actually share with other beings who are on similar paths. Yeah.
Yeah, that also gives you motivation and support. People that are in like-minded journeys with you, you see them and you can exchange inspirations. Yeah. My friend circle keeps changing, according to where I am in my life and the inspiration that I need and want to give to the people around me. And it's actually the most natural thing. Like love is just so alive. It doesn't stay the same. And again, as a humanity, we try to lock that. I feel love. Let's put it in a box. Let's be
this
forever
is the answer.
and ever.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like, we're going to do it, and we're going to be lovers for the next 35 years and have sex 3 times a week, and you're going to make my meal, and I'm going to do this. And they try to put a structure to love. Yeah. A marriage, a ring, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the furthest from the truth of real love. Because love is the most alive thing that constantly changes her face, her needs, her desires. I'm not saying that long-term relationships can't happen, but they are, the value of love is changing and moving. And when you can dance with that, you know, that's a healthy long-term relationship, when we can dance together around this space between us that is so loving. Yeah, but it doesn't have the expectation that because we love each other, then you need to do all of this on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. And then I have also my list. Love knows no list.
Yeah. It's disempowering our sacred realities, really.
Yeah, and it's actually not love, obviously. Yeah, it's not really love.
I love the comparison of like, love is freedom, right? And if we're in touch with what we are, who we are, which is forever changing, it's the nature of reality, then that freedom is open to changing constantly, as you mentioned, right? So accepting others in their truth in every waking minute, moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just coming up with this workshop with my friend Thomas, and we were talking about many, many things. And then suddenly, like, he asked me, what is liberation to you? And I said, this is it. Liberation is when you can allow yourself to be your most authentic self at every given moment. This is liberation. And when you can do that with yourself, you can do that with the people around you. Like, this is my truth. But also this concept of, this is my truth. It can be very toxic. Yeah, this is my truth, and you are this and that, but it's my truth, you know.
And I'm not allowed to change because it's my truth, and I've identified it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, like, truth can come with blame and shame and you know, it could be still my truth, but truth can also be covered in a lot of toxicity. Why? Because I'm pointing my truth out to you. You are the one to blame for my pain that I'm really feeling right now. It's really my truth, but I'm wanting you to take responsibility for it. And then there's another side of truth. Like, everyone has its balance. It's like truth that's coming with love. Yeah, truth that is spoken with love. You know, when I'm bringing my truth to you, am I bringing it to create more walls between us? Hence blame, shame. Or am I speaking my truth because I want you closer to me? And the minute that you separate those two, the way that I come to you with my truth will be completely different. The way that I sit, the way that I touch you, my body language, the tone of my voice, you know, my truth. What is the intention behind my truth? Do I want to create more distance, or I want to come closer? You know, and so my truth has very different outcomes to it. Yeah. Do I take responsibility for mine, or am I just... Where is your truth coming from?
Projecting it or taking accountability, really.
Yeah, and from love or lack.
Yes, yes. Connection, disconnection, right? These polarities, and finding a middle way, or it was being truthful to yourself. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And so in your work, Natalie, like these workshops that you mentioned, what would be some practical tips? Like, do you work one-on-one with people? Do you work in groups? Yeah, what's your approach for helping people turn that mirror inward and continuing to show up for themselves and find their own truth and authenticity in this world?
Yeah. Actually, everything. I would recommend everything, you know, like personal development sessions where you can really go deep into your story, and group sessions. There's something beautiful that happens in a group that doesn't happen in a one-to-one. Like one-to-one, you can go very deep on your personal story, but something that's also happening in a group, being witnessed. Something about being witnessed in your vulnerability, in your pain, in your pleasure, in your journey, like having other eyes witness that, it kind of gives you another self-recognition and self-motivation for the future. Like, I did this. You know, I was witnessed. Like when you get married and you need witnesses, why? It's because you witness through to God, yeah? And then it's like, okay, when you are having hard days, then you have extra love, extra support that witnessed your love. You know, they're kind of holding space for you. So same in the group. It's the witnessing and also seeing other people in their stories. And suddenly you're like, wow, actually, I'm not so far from other people, you know? We actually share very similar things that I thought only I am so, you know, wounded.
Different, an
so
anomaly,
different
wrong.
And like, that was a big change for me too, just to see other people and beautiful, powerful people and still with things that I could relate to. And I was like, wow. It's like my whole body just like,
Showing their humanness.
Humanness, and I'm human and I'm normal.
Yes.
And I don't need to be ashamed of my da-da-da-da-da-da.
It's brought you to here now. And thank you, actually. You know, that's a whole rewiring, a whole rewriting also, to thank for every moment that happened, the tragedy, the pain, the bliss, the comedic moments.
Yeah, they have all become gifts for me. That I happily share. And that's been another thing. It's like I don't just share my triumphs. Oh, I'm this. Like, no, like when you're shy, when you're sad, when you're depressed, when you're frustrated, when you're jealous, like, can you bring these shamed faces? Can you elevate them into a healthy anger, a healthy jealousy, a healthy fuck yes.
Fuck yes.
Are you allowed to say that on the podcast?
Fuck yes, you are. Especially with a preface like that. It's the first fuck yes and it's warranted.
Yes. And again, another life-changing tool. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Thank you. It's very inspiring. And again, with so much, I mean, we're very fortunate. And Natalie and I met here in Copenhagen, which is quite a unique island that brings a lot of trailblazing, you know, motivated, beautiful, kind of creating a new earth here, you know, it seems. And so it's become not again to go back to boxes, but there is a box of this kind of mentality, you know what I mean? And to spread this form of mentality to all the listeners, you know, it's just so beautiful to inspire people to be themselves and inspire these emotions to show up. They all serve a purpose. Again, it's another story like, oh yeah, joy is good, so we must feel joy. Anger is bad, we can't feel anger. You know, we're full spectrum beings. We're energetic forms. How do you expect it for another podcast, but spiraling consciousness into these human forms, and to think that we need to compress ourselves into a story that says these are the emotions that are welcome and these are the emotions that are not welcome. Read the textbook, get it or get out. And I think there's a lot of getting out. There's a lot of checking out. There's a lot of pawns, you know, a lot of autopilot. And, you know, I attest to that deeply. You know, my life in Canada was filled with some challenges, you know, this box of normal, you know, of ticking off, okay, you go to university, you meet someone, you get married, you have kids, you have a job, you buy that house. And again, if that's someone's story and it's conscious and evaluated, beautiful. But if it's not, and you're trying to accomplish something that isn't your own, then it's a really beautiful time to sit in identifying why that isn't yours and perhaps land into knowing that there's other possibilities. Yeah, leaning into sadness, leaning into anger, leaning into the unknown.
And there's so many gifts there.
Yes.
You know, we need them.
Yeah.
We need them for our evolution. And when you learn to actually love them in some crazy way, then there is where I discovered that I can really love, actually. You know, I could only really love if I can accept that love is coming with pain. The minute that I am hiding myself from pain, then I'm not allowing myself to really love because I'm holding back. Yeah, and that was one of my greatest teachings of last year. And, you know, Thomas and I we made this video of what is love, and I wrote that poem of what is love, and that came from a place of deep sadness that I was understanding that all love comes with pain, you know, and that shocked me. I never really understood that. I don't know, I guess something in my deep unconscious princess, Disney, whatever, always wished that something, that real love doesn't have that, but a very beautiful love really broke my heart. And yeah, I really learned that every moment that I can accept whatever love has to bring me, that's the only way I can really fly on the wings of love. And that's when I received the gifts of love, because love has so many gifts and most of us don't feel them because we're afraid of getting hurt, because we're afraid of being let down, because blah, 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 blah. And then we don't get on those wings. You know, we kind of almost there, almost loving, like not fully on the bird's wings. And only when you get on those wings is when it flies and takes you into unknown heavenly places. But you don't get on, you don't fly. So people are tasting love, but they're not really flying on the wings of love. And I think this is a social thing that is hopefully going to change very, very soon. And that's a message that I'm bringing to the world too. It's like, yeah, love is beautiful, but have you really experienced it? Like, so many people use this word. Have you really experienced it? Yeah, when you say I love you, what do you mean? Where is that in the body? Is it from your head? It's from your heart? It's from your belly? It's from your soul? Like, when you say I love you, what does that mean? The amount of people that told me I love you, but I couldn't believe them, and I didn't understand why. That actually the words I love you have 1,000 depths. Yeah, I was like, okay, you love me, but why is it not making me feel you know?
Yes. I think it is changing. It is slowly, you know, and again, this butterfly effect and, you know, people taking the reins like you who have had experiential learning in this journey called life, right? And then also having the boldness, I don't know if it's boldness, but it's, to me, I've always seen that you have this, that's perhaps why you feel like you're here. There's an innate knowing, an innate need to break these cycles, to break these boxes, you know, and that is part of the new earth and this butterfly effect, you know, of you personally, like, well, existing, back to the conversation even with your daughter, right? Like, how will she learn? Through modeling. That's reality. That's how we all learn, especially as children. But in general, it's like, I can tell you one thing, but my whole body mechanics is telling you something entirely different, right? So what are you going to internalize and what are you going to believe?
Right.
Yeah.
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 I'm just so curious about this transformational coach stuff. I know we're talking about it at length, you know, through this discussion alone, but like, if you could offer the listeners some practical tips, right? Like to get started. They hear this podcast. There's some things that ring true. There's some things that are hard to admit. There are some things that are flat out denied. All is welcome. All is okay. There's a shakeup here, as we've discussed, right? So if you can offer people some practical tips of going inward, of kind of landing into this state of being, what would you say?
Ooh. You know, I would always just begin with looking in the mirror, actually. You know, like really taking the time to look at yourself. How many times do we just look in the mirror, do our makeup and leave? And it's like, how do you ever see yourself and like just look in the mirror and see yourself for like 5 minutes? See your body and see your eyes, and as you're looking to your eyes, you will see everything that you've been until this moment. You suddenly see the child you were and the teenager you were and the, you know, all of the stages that brought you to this moment. And then from that place, you can be like, am I living? Am I living? Am I alive? Is this what I wanted? you know, when you ask yourself these questions, this is usually the push to, okay, maybe this is a time to adjust something in my life. You know, like, of course, there's a million tools of what and how, and it really individual from person to person. But like, as a first stage is just to take a moment to look at yourself. This is who I am today. Do I know who I am today? Yeah. Does this person look recognizable to me? Yeah. Do I know this person that's staring in front of my eyes? Does she look happy? Yeah. Is she fulfilled? Is she loved? Am I loved? Do I give love? Like, suddenly all of these questions just come up just in your own reflection. Yeah. And then from that place, what comes up? You know, what comes up? Am I living the life I want? Mostly no. Why? What's missing? What would make me really happy? And then, so then if I did a part 2 to that, it would be, okay, if I could dedicate some time to myself, what would be the top 2 things I would want that I never have time to do? You know, when I got stuck in Thailand for COVID, so, you know, I was here with my family. We were here for 6 weeks, and then our flight got cancelled 2 days before our flight, and we were like, shit, we're going to be here in 1 more month. And I was like, okay.
Famous last words, yeah?
Exactly. And so I was like, okay, I have 30 days, and I have no work, no nothing. What's 3 of my dreams? If I have lived such a busy lifestyle, and now I have 1 month of my life. Mm-hmm. What are 3 of my greatest dreams? And I had to go into the detail, because the more detailed you are, the more accurate you can be. And the first thing that I wrote, I will share this as well.
Please.
Was resensitizing my yoni, because I was suffering. I had a very numb sexuality, very numb. And I knew that there's a big gate waiting for me there. So that was one of the things. And one of the things was learning how to swim, which was my lifelong dream. I was 37 years old after a very deep water trauma. And I was like, okay, now is the time. And then another thing was this dance rhythm that I wanted to do. So I picked these 3 things, and I dedicated my whole month, and I dove so deeply into the water, into the dance. I bought a mirror for my bedroom, a massive wall mirror, and I lived by the sea. So I was in the water 5 times a day, and I enrolled to myself in an 8-hour-a-day yoni initiation. And they began to open my doors more and more and more. And then my life took me on a whole new journey. But it was like, I found the things that I knew would really fulfill me. Yeah, they would really shape my future. And that was the beginning of a very long story into loving myself. So it's like I recognized in the mirror what would really benefit my life? What is my dream? And then I began to incorporate it in my life. I was very lucky because I had a lot of time. And people that don't have so much time, so, you know, dedicating 1 hour a day, 1 hour every couple of days, like to yourself, to your dream. You know, you cannot find self-love if you don't know how to love yourself. And to love yourself is to give yourself time to do something that you love for yourself. You know, it's like a chain reaction. Do I really want to love myself? Do I care that much? You know, this is the question. Do I care? Because if I do, then I need to devote myself to myself. Period. It's like my husband is not going to fulfill this lack. And this is why we are arguing all the time, because we want our families, our friends, our lovers to fulfill the lack. And this is why we get disappointed time and time and time again. But can you do that for yourself? You should. And it's harder, yes. It's much easier to just lay on the bed and blame someone for not making you happy.
And define easy too. This is such an interesting discussion. Yes, like short term, you don't have to do the work, so it's easy. But a long-term scale of like dissatisfactoriness, of non-aliveness, of like low-level pain and a sense of knowing that we're not fulfilling our life essence, right?
It's true, but it's also become very comfortable.
Yes, and familiar, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
so it's like...
So people keep gravitating.
And that's what becomes life, discomfort. So many average, conventional, let's say, families, wives, husbands, the kids, they have the 9-to-5 job and they have a good job and they come back and they have, 7 p.m. dinner and da-da-da-da-da. Like everything is working, there is a structure there that is working for them. It's like a comfort. And now to start discovering who I am, that's scary. Like, how will that affect my marriage? How will that affect my family? Suddenly I'm religious and now I'm not religious. Suddenly I'm this, like, suddenly I when you are in a path of self-discovery, anything can come up. That's scary.
Yes.
Especially when you have relations or friendships and loverships and marriages. And it's like, what will I do if I open Pandora's box? What is Pandora's box? It's everything that I am, actually. But we close it for so many years. And to begin to open them, it's like, wow, I'm opening them knowing that I don't know what I will find. And that's scary.
The unknown is terrifying when you're used to the familiar cradling you.
Sure, and that's how we are all used to. And stepping out into the unknown, after a short time, you begin to recognize that your greatest gifts in life come from the steps you took in the unknown. The greatest gifts, the greatest loves, the greatest gifts. And when you begin to follow that pattern, suddenly it becomes an addiction. And suddenly you're like, I want more of that. And then you dedicate yourself to a life in the unknown. But you cannot really experience that if you haven't experienced that. Yeah, it's a cycle. If you're in the cycle, you get stuck in the cycle of repression. If you start to leave, then you enter a new cycle of living, and it takes practice and courage. The secret to happiness is courage. This is my thoughts. The secret to happiness is courage. You need to be courageous to take those steps. Jump into the unknown, jump into the circles that scare you the most. And I did that. I jumped into my scariest fears. And I found behind each of them deep love. Deep love.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
And again, as we've mentioned, it's of course not the status quo, but once you wake up to it and you really, this repression, this cyclical pattern of repetition and familiarity, yes, it's known, but it is low-grade painful, right? And what is this sacred, silly, magical existence that we're in? If we can step outside of that spiral and go into a space of trust and courage and love and a space of listening too, because these gifts that you're provided are, yes, we're opening up to ourselves, but it also provides a sense of, I think, ability to listen to the cues, like the subtle cues of the universe. You and I talked about this a year, maybe 2 years ago, sitting over lunch about these magical gifts keep occurring, and I would have never anticipated. And actually I had a story, not one that I picked up, but a story in my mind that wouldn't happen, right? Like it can't happen. It can't be that good. It can't be, when in fact, whenever we start choosing ourselves, then I think the universe starts really being on our side, and showing us what we need. And it's not always in the form of a gift. And it as we discussed earlier, it can be painful, it can be sad, it can be difficult. But I think there's a sense of protection once you get used to that realm, once you get over the rickety way out of that regression and cyclical pattern, moving in this middle zone, right? Okay, do I go back to what I know, or do I actually dive in? And once you fully dive, I think as you've discussed, right, it becomes addictive. It's you feel held. in a more authentic way.
Yeah, by divinity. It's like you surrender to something greater, which always is taking you in a path that is yours. And when we resist that journey, you know, we were talking about that time, the wind, I remember, you know, letting the wind move you, listening to the whispers of the wind. So many times the wind is taking us in this direction, and then our mind is like, no, I want to go in this direction, and takes us into another direction, and we walk the path of resistance, you know, rather than the path of least resistance. And that's when we usually struggle with life the most. Yeah, it happens to me in loverships many times. It's like I like someone and I really want, and the signs are very obviously not in my favor. And then suddenly this and suddenly that. And I'm like, what? Like, why? I want to go. I want it. And the winds are just be like, nope, not used. But I'm like, but why? He's this and she's that. And all of these stories. But, you know, the reality is that the signs are showing me it's a no. And, you know, and with a heavy heart, I'm sometimes pissed at existence.
Aren't we all? That's okay. Being pissed is welcome.
I'm pissed. But I'm like, okay, you know,
I surrender.
Thank you. I surrender. I hear you. Fuck you. I hear you. But I let it go.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can see immediately why.
Yeah.
Why? And sometimes no, it's just ends up in a question mark, but I trust. I have deep, deep trust that for reasons that I cannot see or understand, I trust that I'm being guided in a place that is more accurate for me. And that living that life style or that belief system, it really shapes every choice that I make every day. You know, like I'm in constant sensitivity to where I am being guided, what is being supported, you know, which workshops, for example, want to come. Like when I'm supported, they are flawless. I don't need to put effort into nothing. That's how I've created who I am today. Yeah, it's so fast. My professional growth has been so fast. And it's just because I follow this path of listening. The minute that something is supporting, and the universe is supporting me a lot in this expansion, and everything happens fast, the production, the people, that everything is just...
You're handed all these gifts.
And there are moments where, you know, I create a little idea and, you know, I can see, like I push 2 or 3 times and I can see, okay, something is feeling a little bit dense here. And I let it go. I stop fighting for everything, for anything. It's like whatever is mine is mine. Yeah. And when you're being supported really from like a higher place, then you don't need to put too much effort in anything. Of course, intention, of course, I'm not overriding that. But when you fight for something, maybe it's not yours. For someone, for something, for a marriage, for a workshop, for a business, you know, you can duplicate this in every single life situation. What are you fighting for? Why you need to fight?
Yeah. You're going against the current.
Maybe, yeah, this is the sign. It's like, okay, now maybe it's time to let go, maybe. Yeah. Or change faces, you know, change the way you are fighting. Like there's so many ways that we can awaken into a new direction. You know? Yeah.
So we'll kind of start bringing it to a close. I have a question.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
So
ask me.
Yes. If you could leave the listeners with any idea, any thought, anything to just help guide them through, what would that be?
I would start by really questioning everything that you are already doing. Yeah. It's just like, okay, I'm eating an apple. Do I really like the taste of an apple? Yeah. Like just bringing consciousness to your life as it is. Yeah. And from that place, you can begin to start to let go of all of the conditionings that we are currently living by, and begin to break down those walls. So, a lot of the time you need to cleanse in order to fill, right? You need to make space in the body, in the heart, in the soul, in order for new inspiration to come, for new people to come into your life, for new opportunities, manifestation. Like the first stage in manifesting is actually making enough space in your system so that can come through. So, the first stage that I would advise in the first stage of letting go is to begin a cleanse, without needing to put too much attention into the why, but just what, like the way I go to sleep. What do I wear when I go to sleep? Am I sleeping naked? Am I sleeping with clothes on? Why? Like just this questioning, like I wanna go out with friends for dinner. Do I really like them? For me, a big one was when my friends used to invite me for their children's birthdays. And I was like, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. It's like 1,000 kids there making loud noises and mothers talking about kids, which also I hate. I don't like to be in when we're talking just about kids. Like it's not a place that I like to be personally. So it's like this question, things that I do from need, from necessity, from, routine, from what I'm used to, the way I eat, the way I hang, the way whatever, the way I cook. Do I like cooking? Am I just questioning yourself, your daily actions? Do I really enjoy them? Do I find pleasure in them? And when you start noticing that, you also begin to automatically awaken your senses. Yeah, it's like what I'm listening to, what I'm hearing, what I'm tasting. Like I'm tasting an apple. The minute that I have a communication or a consciousness in eating the apple, it's like I'm already awakening a sense of taste, of touch, of the relationship between the touch and the taste, of the relationship between my hand that is picking up the apple to the way it's coming into my mouth. So much is going on in this time. And yeah, I guess it's also a belief system. When I tell my daughter, brush your teeth before you go to sleep, and she's fighting with me for 10 minutes. And I'm like, no, brush your teeth. Like is it really that important to me? Like, what do I believe? What are my belief systems? Actually, I don't care. I really don't care. Don't wear shoes to school. Don't like, why am I fighting for things that are important to me, in inverted commas, because you cannot see that I'm doing that.
Important in a podcast. Yes.
Why am I fighting for things that are important to me when I haven't even stopped to ask myself, is this me? Is this my voice? Is it the voice of my mother? Is it the voice of my father? Is it the voice of my religion, my community, my society, the movie that I watch? Like, I'm living whose voice? My voice? Or a million others? Yeah, so that would be the first inquiry, which I think is a lot.
Yes, it is a lot, but it's imperative, I think. Yeah. Wow. Thank you. I mean, yeah, that's one of the most profound things that I remember with you, Natalie. It's dismantling these stories. Whose stories are they? And the reality too is how many, right? How many, like you can't even count. Like it's overwhelming. So I think like practicing being a watcher of your mind, even if you're quite autopilot and you don't even know what you're doing, slowing down enough to just house yourself in your body and seeing what arises and looking at thoughts as something that are outside of you. Because I think a lot of people too, things occur and that's them. That's who I am. Yeah. Oh, this thought came up. That's me. Right. When in fact, that's not true in any way. So like breaking it down too, to remember that, it's normal to have unevaluated things come up and we don't need to pick them up and call them our own.
Right.
you know?
And something that you mentioned that is so important is this concept of slowing down, because, you know, actually you can only do any of those things that I mentioned when you slow down.
Yeah.
And even deeper than that is that you can only feel when you slow down. Yeah, so we're living in a time where we eat fast, we fuck fast, we walk fast, we talk fast, everything is fast. Like we move from project to project, everything is so fast.
Do. Human doings, yeah.
And actually we lose sensitivity of our hearts, and we lose sensitivity of emotion. And in order to begin your path into self-love, into feeling, into understanding what is even going on, you know, first step is slow down. You know, looking into that mirror, into yourself, requires you to slow down. To eat consciously an apple requires you to take it out of the fridge and sit down and take a bite, rather than like that, doing 1,000 things at the same time. And so all of these tools that you are learning, will learn in life, you know, the first thing that you need to come accustomed to is to be okay, find pleasure in slowing down. Yeah, like what happens? And some people need music to help that happen, and maybe light a candle or an incense, or just like create a space where your mind and your body can really come into a somewhat stillness. So you can, like, what is this practices on, you know, so popular now to learn mindfulness? What is that? It's like just slowing down our busy minds and lifestyle. You know, when you slow down, what can be born there?
And being in touch, like you mentioned earlier, with other senses. Like I think mindfulness allows for that. It's like, rather than being full on intellect, while we're doing many other things, we're eating, we're chopping something up, we're on the bike, yet we're only living in our minds, and everything else is passing by. So you're not an active participant in life, right? So this mindfulness, I think, is synonymous with being a full sensory, full spectrum being.
Right.
Yeah.
And how many of us feel? You know?
Let us know, please. We want to know, guys. Do you feel? And what makes you feel? Is this a new conversation for you that you're hearing? Are these new ideas? I mean, obviously old, deep rooted within yourself. There is probably a sense of knowing there, but is this within your circle? Is this things that you think about, talk about, you know, are afraid of, are excited about? What is this? Yeah. What does this evoke in you?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So it's just so endless. Yeah.
Infinite,
it's like,
really.
It's infinite. It's like, if I ask these questions, like, okay, so how many of you really take pleasure in the food that you eat?
Yes.
How many of you take pleasure in the sounds that you hear? It's just ongoing, and there's so many layers to unlock. And yeah, that's a beginning desire. Like, I want that. I want to taste grapes and enjoy them. You know, I want to hear music and feel pleasure. That I want to walk in the streets and my body is just feeling happy. I want to feel my body. Do I even feel my body? Like, it's an ongoing list of thousands of questions that we can ask ourselves on a basic level without even going too deep.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's a lot for our viewers.
Maybe not.
Do you want more? I don't know. Guys, you tell us. Do you want more?
We want to hear from you.
Are you ready for more?
Yes. And as the full spectrum one could predict, that some are, some not, and all is welcome. All is okay. It doesn't matter where you are in your journey. There's no up or down, higher, low, good or bad. Just surrender to slowing down. I think that's really the point. And I think, like, even this planet that we're living on, an infinite galaxy of whatever, like, what is all of this, right? But if like COVID was anything, it's a push to slow down, right? An actual return to, I think, the essence of being human, right? People were planting, they were outdoors more. They were maybe even evaluating, like, oh, actually, I enjoy alone time, right? So I think there's a push from nature, from the planet, to really slow down, you know, and also dismantle stories, you know, full circle.
this whole COVID thing really, I mean, many people suffered with that.
Yeah.
Because they were so confronted with themselves.
Yeah.
That suddenly there were no distractions, you know, like you really needed to stay at home.
Yeah.
And meet yourself.
Yes.
And no one to fill, like, you know, some people were in their houses by themselves. No one to fill those lacks. And suddenly that became overwhelming. Yeah. And so when you are pushed in a corner like that without even a choice, I think it was very, very difficult, but also a huge lesson for humanity. Like, who are you with yourself? Yeah. My COVID was the best experience of my life.
Yeah. Same.
You know, and I feel sometimes like some people had the worst years of their lives. You know, people died. People really went through very, very difficult situations too. But I think that the underground gifts that came from there as well is that people began to give. You know, you went online and you saw people giving free yoga, free DJs, free this, free that. Suddenly there were collaborations, like people were beginning to find a new way to become community online. Yeah. Tantra festivals online, you know, all of this stuff was happening. People were finding creative ways to love, to connect, to give. You know, suddenly there was this epidemic of free love. Yes, support, global support. And that was beautiful for me to see. You know, before that, everyone was just doing their own thing and the exchange was usually by money.
Yes.
And suddenly there was an exchange of love, an exchange of gifts. And that was profound. And that went on for a really long time. And I think that is still with us. Like we will not and have not become the same entity, even business entity that we were before COVID. There is a new underlying feeling of community and support, even in the conventional world, which is maybe less than what's going on here in Kopangan, but still
it's emerging.
It's emerging, and there's something there, you know, and I can feel that, and still I feel like the world is crumbling apart again, and coming together. It's like always a synonymous reality.
Dance. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, COVID was a big lesson.
Yes. Thank you for that. Dismantling stories. COVID was a beautiful representation of 1 minute we could fly wherever we wanted. We could do whatever we want, seemingly. You know, you could do this, you could go to this show, you could, you know, have a big party, you could do that. And then overnight, that changed drastically.
Yeah.
So it's also not only a push to go inward, but it's a push to realize that everything is a story, and that we can step into our power and be autonomous beings and choose to challenge where those stories are, you know, and who planted that seed once upon a time that grew into my current reality. Is that something that I want to actually pluck out in my garden? Yes.
Yeah.
Or no, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting to reflect on now, you know, given that it's been just over 3 years since this global lockdown, right?
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Forever change, you know, and continuing to, right? Wow. I am loving this discussion, Natalie.
I can talk for hours, as you can tell.
I like it. Yeah, it's always hard to come to a close. You know, if you feel like there's anything else that you feel you'd like to share, of course, I'm happy to.
No, I feel complete. Like I really love what was born from this. Like sometimes it's just that.
Yes.
You know, the most alive, and of course there's always more. So our viewers will tell us if they want to hear more.
Yeah, they will. And just to send our viewers in the right direction here, like where can people find you, Natalie?
So you can find me in my body in Kopangan and in Europe and in Israel. Like I'm spending a lot of time in these places, but online, I guess we are in the era of online, and my Instagram is Natalie's Queendom. As you know, I have a website, nataliesqueendom.com. And yeah, there's a lot of very interesting information and posts and shares there. Yeah, I think it's definitely a good place to know more about what I do and the many different types of offerings that I give, and my story. I share my story a lot.
Amazing. I love you deeply.
I love you too. Thank you.
I appreciate the time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you here today. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. I truly hope that today's conversation was valuable to you. To learn more about today's guests, including links and resources related to everything discussed today, visit the episode page at soulplaycollective.com. I'm so grateful you're here, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the show. So don't be shy. Send in your comments and let us know how each episode is resonating with you. If you'd like to support the podcast, the easiest and most impactful thing you can do is to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube, and leave a review and/or comment. Sharing the show or your favorite episodes with friends or on social media is fantastic and super appreciated. And finally, for podcast updates, please follow us on Instagram at soulplay.collective and at Soulplay Collective on Facebook and YouTube. Appreciate the love and support. See you back here soon.